Hello and welcome everyone to another fabulous day of PPL action. My name is Pretty Hair. I will be your host for this first little matchup. Of course, we have our very special guest, Mr. Kresnik, back with us after a phenomenal Thursday. I think we're all very, very excited and waiting with bated breath for these Friday games.
Yeah, they should be fantastic matchups, especially after yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
The really tight matchup at the start, and then a match that had a lot of potential after. These games should be really good today.
If you guys didn't tune in yesterday, you missed, well, we had a remake, so it made it the first ever 8-game set of Paladins Premier League play. Lasted almost 4 hours. This was an absolute banger, as we like to say. Very, very cool stuff. A fun little game, I think, between Kanga and Na'Vi. They had some hiccups, obviously. Not the full roster here at the end of the day, but I think Mike gave us a great show and won the hearts and minds of all the Paladins fans. We'll take a quick look here at the standings of the league. 10 and 11. NIP still sitting at the top, but Kresnik, your team 8-4, right on their heels. Envy 8-5, not too far behind either. But that game differential margin is still rather large.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of game to ground to make up to catch up to NIP. It's almost going to be impossible at this point, I think, after their win yesterday.
Yeah, very, very tough stuff. And an important thing to note is this is one of the first years that those schedules are not resetting with the phase. Everything carries over throughout the year. So NIP have gotten themselves off to a great start. You guys, Envy, have gotten themselves off to a great start. Na'Vi need to recover. They need to get this win here today. A lot of what is the top 6, though, is already locked in. We're just kind of looking at standings shifting in terms of the seeding. 1 through 6, that's all set in stone. But there is, I think, still some wiggle room for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, some teams, I think the 5th and 6th seedings are still up for display. And between 1st and 4th, I think, 2nd and 4th can really flip around. We can end up in 4th depending on how our last games go. And Envy can move up too, depending how the last week goes.
How are you feeling about your last week's games? Just real quick. You guys got another one of them double
I think that's going to depend on how Na'Vi looks today. I'm going to say that.
Gotcha. Well, Virtus.Pro versus Na'Vi will be our first matchup of the day. And you can't talk about Virtus.Pro without talking about Akate. And Akate specifically, I think, is a fun one to talk about, given the recent developments of the meta. And I give you guys a lot of credit for the Tyras and the Vivians coming out in the way that they have and the consistency that they have. And I think Akate has honestly taken this sort of evolution in the meta in stride. I think these have been really good picks for him because he is just a hit scan through and through.
Yeah, not only that, but he's actually been adapting a little better to the Cassie. I mean, he's always had a pocket Shaolin. I thought his Cassie earlier in the season was a little weak, but when he gets his hands on it now, he has been showing it. But Leon, of course, the clip they're going to show, Leon's always been a historical good champion for him, and he performed with it great yesterday, I felt. Historically great, and she still has a place in the meta even after her nerf.
Definitely does. I think especially when you consider Fisheko's on his team, you know what I mean? When there's an opportunity to play Drogos, Leon is the biggest predator out there in the food chain for that Drogo. So if you can get the Drogos and you can get the Apex Predator, I mean, that is one of the most awesome combinations you could ever hope for. And this was one of the more intense team fights there on Bazaar, one that you had the pleasure of casting, and one that Virtus.Pro barely pulled out.
Yeah, that was just great staggers and cooldown usage from them. And the delays and damage coming in from Fishiko on top of their team with everything. His ability to deal the damage on the focus targets of their team and be flexible makes their drafts really great.
Right now, both of Fisheko's picks are synergizing very well with Hakate's, right? The Eevee Tyra, so potent. We saw that on Bazaar yesterday. We talked about the Drogos Leon, the Predator and the Prey, so to speak. You get them both. You got the whole food chain kind of running in fear of you. Fisheko can be so deadly on a multitude of champions, but I think everyone has, so it's not fair to just like put this on Fisheko. But Bomb King has not really been there much for him this season. He's really played, honestly, I would venture to say, even some more Cassie than most nowadays.
Yeah, he tends to play the Cassie in the double backline, because like I mentioned, I think Hekate did struggle with it earlier in the season, so he kind of picked up those reins, so Hekate would play the Shaolin or the Leon, but I mean, his Bomb King still nothing to shake a stick at, you know, he still knows how to perform on it. He's just definitely had more success on some of those other champions.
Eevee's been such a strong character kind of throughout this season. So it's only natural that the best in the world step up at it. But there's been a lot of people stepping up on Eevee, meaning that it's just been way more contested. It has not been easy to get Eevee anymore. It used to be, you know, not as many people played this character. Not every team had a dedicated Eevee player. Now we're seeing this character banned. We're seeing this character first picked like yesterday. I mean, it's just a wild time to be an Eevee main.
I think one of the biggest reasons that developed is because of the LAN League.
Yeah,
Because originally she wasn't being played on LAN because of some desync issues.
Right.
But now that it's fixed and we're always playing on LAN, teams are saying, oh, well, she's going to have this insane, it's going to be perfect, there's going to be no desync or anything. We can practice this because it's always going to be a lethal pick.
God bless a working Eevee at the end of the day. She is vicious, and she is something to be reckoned with. We have a quick little interview to throw it down to with Pule Ule for VP.
I'm still not in the main roster. That's yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I wanted to give my best, even though if I was not like gonna be in the main roster.
Yeah.
So I was having fun. I am having fun right now. I mean, yeah, there has been like some issues with the comms in sense of the barrier stuff, but we have to sat and like made some adjustments, like make an agreement, like what does this mean, like I mean, it's not that we don't understand some words, it's like we need to be fast, sometimes we need to react really fast, and if I don't understand like for a second, that's too much time. You can waste any second in a match. I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna like improve comms. That's what I want to do, and yeah, we're gonna have fun for sure. We have like a lot of mechanics, but we are improving week by week our team play. That's what we need to focus on. We don't care who are we playing against. We are focusing on ourselves. I mean, it begins with spats, and then we come like in the draft, because we came with ideas and we want to test them sometimes. Even though we didn't like trying scrims, like we want to try sometimes in tournaments. We have to, like we cannot waste like any map. I think that's the idea, like getting as much wins as we can before the MSI, because these wins keep for the HRX. So we want to get as much wins as we can. Versatility and confidence. I don't know, like Mutu plays Moshi, like I mean Moshi Shower Falls is really good, but I think they can bring like anything in any map. So it's gonna be a tough match for sure. And if you look back in the days, in the first set with Envy, we were losing 0-2, and they were stomping us. So we always like go map by map. We always like have a mind reset, and that's it. That's how it's gonna work with us. I think we need to stick with our plan. If we stick with our plan, we're gonna win. 4-3.
4-3.
Perfect. Yeah.
Wise words from Pule Ule there from Virtus.Pro, a very kind of long-standing player in this scene. Plays one of the more difficult roles and is sort of in that limbo of he really did come here to sub in for Cephacloud, but it's week 12 at this point, man. It's kind of like, well, we had that moment with Shadow where it's like, is he going to be, okay, he's main roster after, 5 weeks to play, 6 weeks, whatever it was. But at this point, Pule Ule still talking about, whether or not he is going to be locked in main roster is something that I don't know if even he really believes anymore at this point. I mean, can you bring somebody else in at this point for him?
I don't think so. Not after this time, especially since he took the time to learn a new role and calming in a new language. You know, it's a big jump to make, and at this point, I think it would hurt.
You probably
more than
know
help.
that better than anyone with SSG and Sadak and having to do all that.
Yeah, well, Spanish to Portuguese is a little easier than I think the jump from Spanish to English or Portuguese to English.
There you go. There you go. Well, talking about their opponents now, Navi, and there he is. He is back. Mutu's in the chair today. No more Mike. No more need to spam the bike. However, he is still in the corner. There you can just barely see him. Mutu is ready to rock and roll. Fresh haircut as well. He is going to be looking like a deadly force, and this is going to be looking like a completely reinvented Navi. Now, given that this is kind of them getting back into the swing of things, I wanted to get your opinion on what is it like for a team like Navi to go from scrimming in Europe, obviously they are all in Europe, so they can still do that when they're at home, to getting back here and starting to scrim here at the studio with each other once again.
Like just the jump from like how different the practice environment is.
Right. Can you get as good of practice with not as many? You know, some teams are over here, right? A lot of teams maybe not being back at home. Are you limited in what you can practice with when you're back at home?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we personally, there are some blasters that we just can't practice when we're down. When my team is back in Brazil, and I'm sure they can probably play Bomb King with like 120 ping, 130 ping, but you can. It's easier to have a free excuse, right? You can point the blame and say, "Oh, we lost that fight. Sorry, 2 of my bombs didn't reg because of the ping." You know, because I'm playing from home, and there's less excuses here. You try to find the problem more instead of just blaming the environment.
My question for Mutu today is will he sort of go the way that we've seen a lot of other hit scan people go? There is a little interesting dynamic with the drafting, with the comps for Na'Vi, but Tyra's, Vivian's is not something that Na'Vi are stranger to. However, obviously, Phoenix loves his Tyra. He wants to try and play that as much as he can, and Vivian is actually something Na'Vi ran a decent amount of, if not first, really, in the pack back at the World Tournament. So interested to see what he ends up going with today. Spunky, the support, the lone support today, as Mike will not be by his side, supplementing any lacking in the healing department.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Spunky will be able to perform at Fury at the same level Mike was, but I would expect to see some strong play on that from him. Across the board, he's been a historical player, playing multiple roles over time, and I'm sure he's going to be a force for Na'Vi today.
Yeah,
as he always is.
This is a big part of Na'Vi's roster. This is one of the longest standing players, if not just straight up the longest standing player in Paladins. Everyone that played in that DreamHack Sweden tournament, there are just a few of them left around in the scene today, but he is definitely one of them. He's played a couple of different roles, but support has been where he's parked for a long time. He's one of the best in the business at doing it. And support is kind of in flux right now. Genos is sort of up and down. Furia is kind of coming back into the question. Do you expect any funny business from the support role today?
In terms of, I don't really think so. I mean, yesterday Ying I think would come to a surprise to some people, but it was being used as kind of a limiter to CC. I expect to see a lot of Genos from him. I know some teams are afraid of Spunky's Genos ults.
How often do you practice? Like, do you see like Midtow in their practicing time and spaces?
You have no idea how many times he goes, Chris, can you go back and watch my angle on this? Yeah. Almost every single time he plays Genos, he's just like trying.
Really?
Weird random stuff, making me look at the angle like
I've seen you guys
3
go,
degrees to the side. Maybe.
You got your protractor out, your graph paper.
Wish there was an iOS app for that. Is there?
There might be. I don't know. Genos iOS coming to an app store near you guys. But this is going to be a great one. If that NIP VP set from yesterday is any indicator, then this should be extremely close between these two teams. Na'Vi gets Mutu back at midnight, 2 a.m. I heard he landed.
Yeah.
So how healthy is he going to be? How fresh is he going to be? Did he get a good night's rest before having to come in today? These are all questions and factors that I think are going to affect this Na'Vi squad.
I think they've been traveling so much, though. I feel like if any team would be immune to travel, it'd be them, right?
Hopefully.
How many teams have been moving back and forth that much between Europe and maybe to Valencia that time and back to Vegas that one time, and like they've been all over the place. If any team would be able to power through these problems, I think it would be them.
Well, immunity to travel might be something that they need to tap into today. We have a very special interview. We're going to throw it down to the Na'Vi booth for an interview with Mike the Bike.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with none other than the newest superstar on Na'Vi, at least in the community's eyes, because he was a very endearing guy. He put up with a lot yesterday, a new role, a new transition. We have Mike here. And Mike, obviously you didn't want to do the interview. It's a little hard to get up here. It's not about you, but what's going on in your head after yesterday? We never got a chance to talk and kind of feel how you were feeling.
Well, that was a good experience as for the manager as well, because I know how players react in each situation now. So basically, that was a good experience.
Yeah, and it seemed like you honestly had a lot to do, and you started out pretty nicely. You had that 2-0. You were like 5 kills in on the first game. How did that feel? Did that like relax you a little bit?
Yeah, that relaxed me a bit, but still, we were close. Maybe I could say in each game. To at least get 1 game or 2 games. But yeah, I was pretty confident after the first map.
Well, you know what was great is that now you've got Mutu here, and you did the service. You did the best that you could. Everyone knows that as well. No one blames you for anything. But how do you feel now that the team's together? Do they feel ready to go ahead and be back to where they were as Na'Vi?
Yeah, we are glad that Mutu is back now. The full team is ready to win this game, and I hope they will win this game and prove that they are the best team.
All right, man. Well, obviously there's no replacement for Mike here. Mutu's going to try to fill his shoes. Great stuff, man. Here, give me a handshake. He did well. He obviously did a hard role for the team, and we're going to send it back to the desk, break it down, see what Na'Vi can do now that they've got their full roster.
God bless Mike at the end of the day. I think that man deserves a raise. He has not only performed his duties as manager to a T, but he, of course, fills in when when needed to play. What a great guy. I mean, the kid clearly had some experience. I think, he had the CS lean on his keyboard. He started 2-0, 3-0 in a PPL game, guys. This is a account level 2021 player, but I think just that natural skill. Very fun story, very, very fun kind of thing to sort of wrap up yesterday, but it's time to get into this one. VP versus Na'Vi, and a Na'Vi at full strength. Serpent, gone. Warders, gone. Frog, gone. Bazaar, gone. Ascension Peak will be our first battlefield.
Yeah, also, Bazaar ban, not surprising after how they saw VP play on it yesterday, I think, that they were so close to taking that away.
Maybe we ain't ready for that one.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, they probably, I don't know how much practice they feel like they got on the map because of being back home.
Yeah.
Maybe they felt like it was subpar practice, so they want to just get rid of that and not have to worry about it. Warders, I believe, a really common ban for VP, too. So, standard ban, pretty standard stuff, I think, across the board for them. Let's see here. VP, Torv, Na'Vi, Makoa, standard start. Tyra ban, that was being seen a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
I think they just want to remove that focus fire damage boost. There's really not too much, I don't want to say not much counterplay, but when you get marked, it really doesn't feel like it. They just want to execute around another strategy.
I mean, what is the counterplay? The buy Haven?
I guess. Dive bomb the Tyra, basically. But there's ways that they can play around that. If you ban the Tyra, just get rid of that, then the impetus is on them to make a move.
A very impactful first pick for VP. He does not make it through very often. And I want to talk about this. I mean, personally, I feel as though Phoenix has one of the best atlases in the league.
We dwarves are natural
right up in there,
fighters.
Diggy Dog,
I just hope
and
you
Rhino.
lads
Those
can
are my
keep
favorite
up.
atlases to watch at the moment. Do you think
bring
Phoenix just
war to
prefers
my
Khan
doorstep.
over the Atlas, and he's just
I
okay
bring destruction
getting either
to
or
yours.
Khan?
I think they might want to just play aggressively into the Atlas, because if you force the Atlas to use his rewind in a bad situation, like if you damage him more than he's expecting to get damaged, his rewind is bad. It's really bad. It's disastrous, Atlas really has to be in control of the fight and use his cooldown, so maybe they just think they can stop him from getting in. They think they have the better focus fire.
Well, he's one of the better characters to do
You
so.
trespass and are unwanted, stranger.
One thing that you have to think about is Atlas scales very scary with Luminary. He is a very, very potent frontline in terms of his weapon, in terms of being able to do damage. And when you boost that up just a little bit more, you have such a high base of 900 to scale off of Barrack. We've talked a lot about him being one of the better front lines to scale and to play off of Luminary as well. A character that can kind of look after himself. Na'Vi looking to lean more on that Damba and Nara. High sustain, very hard nut to crack. VP going for the Leon or hovering.
The
it at
next
the very
time you
least.
see my banners,
Drogoz is
run.
another very popular pick for them. With Tyra banned out, Leon picked away. Is this where Fasheko goes?
They might go it, but I think I think Na'Vi wouldn't be scared to bring out a Vivian.
Yeah.
In response to it, because Vivian's still really strong in this map, and with the Wrecker into the Barrack, it does a lot.
Ooh.
They're probably thinking that same thing as well. So we'll see what they end up putting Fishiko on. I think either could be okay. You can play around a Vivian on this map if you have to. But Eevee is probably the safer pick. She's safer on the side angles.
Gotcha. And Leon, Leon's okay into Eevee as well. I think Leon is one of the better matchups with flanks. And VP are tossing this one back and forth. Drogoz to Eevee, back to Drogoz. At the end of the day, feeling like that Drogo is going to be just so valuable. Leon Drogoz, we talked about this pick, or these two picks specifically going into today. And the crystal ball is clear today for Kresnik, because Vivian is the response. Something that not a lot of teams are bringing out so far. I think it might just be you and Na'Vi at this point. Not a lot of other people going towards the Vivian. But is this the hit scan? Does she have the range to contest a Drogoz like a Leon?
Not alone if he's playing far enough away, but with the con is what it really comes down to. All that damage mixing together.
With our powers combined, we can slay the dragon.
Captain Dead Lizard.
There it is, guys. This is going to be a great set. I'm very excited to get into this one. We are going to go ahead and get down to the casters for game number 1 of VP Na'Vi.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm back here, Tom Badger, F. joined here by Dave Olson.
That's right.
Dawson. Where'd you get that name, by the way?
Super creative, right? So first name, last name, first initial, last name, mix them together. Wow. Big brain power coming together for the for the username there.
Well, hopefully Navi or Virtus.Pro have the big brain here today. I think this one is going to be a real nice matchup here. Mutu
Should be.
playing. It's going to be exciting. Mike, we love you, but he'll be sitting on the sidelines for this one. Big energy in the music. I'm feeling
That's
it, boy.
right. All these intro musics are always wild. The ice maps as well have some crazy intro musics. In come the talent selection in this one, nothing out of the ordinary. Impulse Cassie has started to make a little bit of a comeback.
All right.
Normally big game, but in dealing with some of the squishier targets, some of the flanks that you might go up against Impulse, makes a little more sense. And that's the name of the game here for Natus Vincere. It's what we saw yesterday that NIP had to deal with. How do you deal with this Drogos, especially when Hecate on this Leon are going to be making life hell for you down on the ground?
Fish Echo's done such a good job of it, and I really like it on this map specifically. Obviously, the interior is where we're going to talk about the AoE potential and how much work Fish Echo can do inside, but staying on the outer ring as well, kind of creeping on the outskirts, allows him to sort of play bouncer and disallow players into the point altogether. Na'Vi, so far, they got there first, so Fish Echo not going to be doing much of that right now. Taking in red team's favor. Phoenix here just kind of playing on the outside.
And this is going to be a new look at Na'Vi. Already at 93%, of course, having Mutu back on this one. And 1 kill, 2 kills coming through is all they need. And that's the difference. When you have Mutu back and you're able to pair that with Phoenix, the aggression, all you need really is 1 kill, and then they can buy you the rest of the space. You saw how aggressive Phoenix was on that con, just forcing Virtus.Pro out. A couple kills coming on the back end of that point capture, but Natus Vincere will be okay, just to stagger out and maybe get this payload moving forward in a minute.
That's a big deal that Na'Vi got there first, because as I look at these two compositions here, Dave, Virtus.Pro, not to say that they can't break the base and walk in there, but this is a team that's much better kind of getting on the point and staying stationary.
True.
You look at what Atlas brings, and you look at what you're able to do with Barrack a little bit more. This is a team that's much better to defend than all-out assault. So Na'Vi get the first step here. They're pushing the payload along the way. How is Virtus.Pro going to respond here is the big question.
And this is a good area for Fish Echo to be. He really likes the Drogos on that point fight, but here is good as well. You can see the way he's using these rooftops and the trees to his advantage, just poking up over the mountain, dropping some poke in on the backside. And unfortunately for Virtus.Pro, this is kind of where they have to make their stand, because this is where Fish Echo is going to have the big advantage, being able to rain down from above using these nooks and crannies, because this payload comes too far forward. The sky is basically open for Natus Vincere to push through. So this one's kind of on Fish Echo to control it from the air, and then maybe some follow-up damage down on the ground. Dosov's, though, has done a good job on the Barrack as well, kind of going toe-to-toe with Lazy. That's the matchup I have my eyes on here in this round.
Just like I was talking about the other characters being good at the point, I'm glad you brought up the fact that Drogos is going to be really important here defending against the push. That said, the push defense doesn't look too clean. 44 seconds left. Na'Vi don't even need it. 2-0 so far, and can I be honest right quick?
Yeah.
That looked easy.
It was. It was easy. Easy for Na'Vi to start off 2-0. That was quick. And this is, I mean, we all love Mike, but this is the difference that having Mutu in the team brings. The fact that it opens up the door for so much else. I mean, we'll see the slash lines when we come back into it. But, I mean, look, nobody's looking at creatives right now. Granted, kills have already come out, but he's almost an afterthought in some of these fights, because he's able just to sit back and free farm while everyone else is looking at Phoenix, looking at Lazy, the other guys who are creating space for Na'Vi. So when you have people that can create the space in your front lines back when everyone else is on their comfortable role, and then people who can capitalize on that space, that's not a Vincere's game. They're a controlling team, so they don't need a mass amount of kills.
Here again, if you're rooting for Virtus.Pro, you're rooting for them to get on the point first. I really think that's where they're going to be a little bit stronger versus letting Na'Vi in. So that's why I like this positioning here from the blue team seeping in. But again, Na'Vi are just able to maintain control. I'm going to take that back. I'm not liking the positioning. I want to see a little bit more push power, which I guess is VP's kind of weakness right here.
And Fish Echo's able to squeak out one, which could actually end up opening the doors, especially now that it's on to creatives. The overpower as well is good Fire Spit buys a little bit of space. Hecate adds the second in this fight for Virtus.Pro, so finally maybe seeing a little bit of light.
Big play there. Hecate gets 2. Fasheko bounces off, and Dosup's going to be able to capitalize off of that as well. Virtus.Pro starts taking the point. It's going to be the fast cap, too. 4 points per tick. And we're already above 90%. Red team on the outskirts. And easy. Just honestly, just as easy as the first one for Na'Vi.
And honestly, they're very similar types of teams in that they're both controlling. They both just take what they're able to get, and then if you give them too much, they're just going to sit there and hold it, as you said.
Well, the last time we saw Na'Vi take the point, it was 2 kills,
right?
3 kills, and this one also very, very, very calculated. You see the Fire Spit go around the corner at the same time that the Overpower hits,
right?
And Virtus.Pro, a lot of times you think of this like, all right, go. It's almost like they were like, all right.
Yeah.
Go.
They find the picks.
Yep.
They find the picks. They find the damage. The timing across the board has been pretty good. I mean, Fasheko and Hecate had a rough go-around the first round on this map, and they've really been able to open up. Both of them on 5 streaks, and that's the name of the game with this team. Dosups and Pule are going to open up the space, but Hecate and Fasheko really need to feel comfortable and move into it.
Na'Vi, though, making some plays here as they push up, try to stop the push cart. Leon ultimate is available if she wants to go ahead and use that. Spunky has been having a good game.
Yes.
Sitting in the back line and just trying to keep this Vivian alive. I've really enjoyed kind of watching what Spunky's been able to do, specifically with Mutu here. Red team still pushing up. It's a nice stalemate.
Spunky is a very cool, calm, calculated type of player. This is bad for Virtus.Pro. You don't want to walk face first into a Mutu that has his Sentinels out. They do net a kill from it, but so much damage gets returned. Good positioning by Mutu, bad decision-making by Virtus.Pro, and this Natus Vincere defense. The payload has not moved off of the initial start.
Not at all. The defense has been electric. I love the control of the hallway that we've seen.
True.
You sit down, Vivian just sitting through that hallway and denying that entire choke point, and then the other players kind of rotating around to make use of the other points. Virtus.Pro trying to really brute force this one. It was kind of elegant the way they took the original point, and this is the other side of the blade. Real dull, real just battering in, and it's just not working out.
And this is a big difference, obviously, as the same as a series-wide 2-1 game is. A 2-1 point within a game, 3-1 for Natus Vincere opens them up so much more. In Virtus.Pro, that they're just fighting to get to the payload at some point in this one. I think they realize this is a tall task. I don't imagine they'll use too many ultimates.
Right.
Maybe they see some light at the end of the tunnel, but they have to win basically 3 full team fights to get this one in. It's just starting to move. I think Natus Vincere have stalled out just long enough to see this one through.
Exactly. We'll see Virtus.Pro push it up just a little bit. And, overtime in their favor, but the second Na'Vi respawns, I think the dream will come crashing down.
I mean, it is a short map. I mean, it's in theory it could happen, especially with Spunky going down. I mean, the opportunity's there if these kills start rolling.
Well, Pule gets creative as well, and here's another shot from Hecate. We're now 60% through, all on overtime. 0% of this push has been in regulation time. 1/4 of the way to go. Virtus.Pro with 1 point already, fighting to tie the game. Here comes the Na'Vi push, and if Na'Vi win this team fight, it's all over. And we're looking at a 3-1.
Yeah, and that's tough with Hecate going down. Phoenix is just buying way too much space right now. He is a little bit low, needs to stay alive, but Hecate and Dosups is all they need. I mean, if nothing else, the takeaway there is that this map is somewhat short. So if you're able to clean up a fight, get to the payload, and then, maybe get some kills rolling, it definitely helped them getting a kill onto Spunky. But it does get close. I mean, if Na'Vi had lost those last 2 kills instead of winning them, it could have gone through. But now it's 3-1.
It kind of looked a little bit more calculated to me. I think that Na'Vi went, okay. No, you're on overtime, and understood the power of one team fight.
Right.
I think what Na'Vi did was just allowed Virtus.Pro to push up and found their ideal choke point to fight
that's exactly it.
Yeah, and really made use of the map.
And the damage, all in Virtus.Pro's favor. Granted, they were just kind of sitting back and pouring out damage. Natus Vincere. Mutu and Creatives have found the important damage, though. That's always a thing to look at is, you can have the most damage in the game, but if you're pouring it all into Lazy,
right,
you have more damage to deal in that sort of case. So the first touch onto the point here goes to Natus Vincere, so they're positionally in control. Which just depends on how the rest of this team fight fans out for them.
Which, again, that's usually bad news for Virtus.Pro. looking at the way that this one has gone so far. Lazy falls down. Nice shot there. Pacheco on the outside, and players now kind of jockeying for the point as Virtus.Pro has made their way inside. Red team trying to look in, and this is good defense. This is where Virtus.Pro is going to excel at keeping the opponent away and off the point.
And they've really figured out their point fight. They're almost lulling Natus Vincere into a sense of security in a way. Lazy needs to stay alive here. He doesn't have any healing, just trying to get a touch. And here we go, another payload. This one's actually going to start moving forward as opposed to Natus Vincere winning the fight immediately afterward last time. This is going to stall things out a little bit onto Pacheco. What I've seen on the mid fight is that despite Natus Vincere getting onto the point first, Pacheco and Hecate have been able to live just too long and do just too much poke damage in return.
Yeah.
And then a calculated all-at-once push. That's what you see every time. It's like 4 kills suddenly for Virtus.Pro, and Natus Vincere are, just left wondering, when are they going to attack? And they've just been caught by surprise a little bit too much.
Pacheco's been able to provide a lot of just suppressive fire. Just,
right.
You're not dead off of the fire spit, but 3 people get hit for a big chunk. They've got to go and regen, and all of a sudden, that's the type of impact that's important for looking for the push card, right? Nice shot down there on Lazy. They might be able to help out, but still stopped at the moment. Virtus.Pro trying to grab some kills, 2-1.
We've seen this story before.
Yes. But this one looks a little bit more promising.
A little less convincing, though, this time from Natus Vincere. You can tell what their plan is on the defensive end, which is just a full-blown attack into the base, which is smart because if you're able to win just one of those, now you have a chokehold on the enemy team's base. If you lose, they still have to walk down and get to the payload. You have time to get back in defense. So it's a smart defensive plan.
Nice.
But this is where it gets dangerous. When the return kills are happening and the payload isn't all the way back at the point.
Yep.
We're already halfway there, and there's a minute left. You saw what they could do in overtime. They have a lot more time to play with to tie it up this time.
And right there, Virtus.Pro kind of shows the explosive nature of their composition. Just like that, Pacheco and Hecate combined for 3 separate kills. Pule also getting involved there. And that is really impressive as they look for the push. They've got a little over half a minute here and just a little nubbin to go.
Vex has had a great game on the Genos as well. 17 streak, always a guy who'll be very high up on those kill streaks right here. This is an important engagement. Pule gets the worse for wear in this case. Lazy coming out on top of that one. That's going to stall things out. But with 15 seconds left, Virtus.Pro, as long as they don't lose anymore, there's still a chance to get back in onto this one. But if the stagger is too bad from Natus Vincere, this could be over.
Still, there's a whole lot of ultimates here on the side of Virtus.Pro. If they want to push it for all, they can. But of course, you've got to keep in mind match point, which would be next. Overtime activated, pushing down as Natus Vincere is a great look at the point. Still, Virtus.Pro trying to push up. Pule with a nice rewind there to avoid some of the nonsense coming out from the front side of things. Lazy goes down, Hecate on the good side, still trying to push the cart. Overtime being contested. One more shot will kill the Cassie, but Leon changes targets, goes down. 2, 3 in a row for Natus Vincere. Virtus.Pro getting thinned out. Vex the only one left alongside the front line. And Na'Vi get the defense. Ouch.
Mutu coming live at the important moment, and this is the threat of a Vivian, especially in that position. When you're able to hang back, you have your sentinels out, and you can just free fire, you're going to have a bad time. He had 3 kills the entirety of that fight. He had a double kill, and it's just Natus Vincere buying too much space. I mean, that's what you have to look at. Phoenix, when he's able to play his comfortable champions, when you put him on something like the Khan, and he's able just to do, 7, 6, and 11 isn't a wild scoreline, but the unspoken of what he's doing is buying so much space for his team, allowing Mutu on the Vivian to sit back. He has 70 rounds in his gun. When you're able to sit back, wind that up, and just let it go, you're going to get a defense like that. Virtus.Pro have to win another one, though.
Pacheco and Pule, that's their job, right? You see the space being created by the Khan. It's Pule, but it's also Pacheco because of the way he can deny angles by way of the fire spit. And we're seeing that from Pacheco a decent amount as Vex gets the kill on the Phoenix, which could open things up. But we're not seeing that on the other side. Virtus.Pro fighting for their lives here. Halfway through the point at the moment. Coming around the backside is going to be Dosubs dealing with the Cassie, but the damage a little bit too high. Creatives again gets the kill. Halfway there is Virtus.Pro.
He gets in, gets the kill, gets out. That was a massive through time and space into the overpower. Poulet's so low, but the second chance gets him nice and topped off here. In this case, he goes down. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Natus Vincere back on the
Other
point.
side.
But huge plays from Vex. The overpower from Phoenix came in, and he sniped him right on out of it. Not only to cancel the overpower, but he gets the kill as well. But Natus Vincere, they scrap their way back onto the point in this case, tied at 51.
But things going the other way. Trading back and forth. Tied at 51, now tied at 55. Red team starting to take advantage as they push forward.
Virtus to stay alive.
Ooh, important kill there on the outside, but Barrett goes down anyway. Lazy from the interior finds the shot. Ule goes down. Nice snipe there from Mutu, just getting the precision instead of the spam this time around. Killing spree. Na'Vi 1 point away. Here comes the Dragon Punch. Fisheko tries. Fisheko falls. Double kill. Na'Vi still holding on. Virtus.Pro sneaking in. Dosups goes down. That should be it, but no.
They got the stagger, which is really what's important here. Creatives and Mutu both still alive. Poulet has to go in with the second chance and maybe just buys enough time for his team, but gets traded out. Creatives add ones as well. Fisheko's the last line of defense. And Natus Vincere, they seal it up at the end of the day. There was a little glimmer of hope there for Virtus.Pro, but Creatives and Mutu just were able to stay alive just a little bit too long there in that case.
Yeah, I saw that moment, you know, and I really, part of me thought we were going to see the other side go, but not going to be the case. One shot for Na'Vi at the moment, and they're feeling good about that one. That said, Virtus.Pro kind of came back.
Yeah.
There was a nice little competition there in game number 1, and I think that's an accurate kind of representation of what we're going to see here for the rest of the set.
Well, that was the fight I expected to see. It almost looked like Na'Vi were going to run away with that one the way the first few points went, but the fight back, 2 straight point fights, netting 1 defensive point to Na'Vi, but I expect this one to go long distance.
Well, let's see what's going on the desk.
Thank you guys so much. Great job on the cast down there in game number 1. Definitely agree with them in terms of this. Kind of looked like it was going to go Na'Vi's way quick and fast in the early onset of Ascension Peak. Dosups, 101,000 damage. A couple people over 6 figures there for VP. 157k healing for Spunky. Anything else necessarily standing out to you?
Just the low damage on Na'Vi. Like they were all playing off of sustain. That's the power of that Inara Damba Khan composition. You know, the Khan can help the DPSs on the side that aren't necessarily getting pocketed stay alive. That Inara is, you know, notoriously insanely. Yeah, she's Inara. One of the immortals. That's what people call her. One of the 2 immortals, Inara and Terminus. So definitely living up to her name in terms of maybe not the death stat line, but just the healing that she was able to soak up.
Sure. And Mutu, the only one breaking 6 figures on Na'Vi. However, there is kind of more, I think, to that story. Na'Vi play that style. They play the objective super, super, super hard, probably harder than anyone else in the league. So it's not always about damage and high KDs for them. One other thing about this Vivian is Booby Trap versus Opportunity and Chaos. What are your thoughts on that talent selection?
I mean, I personally think Opportunity is better. I liked the concept of what he was doing with it. He would put it on the flank on the ground, so maybe the Atlas would try to push in with a speed boost. Just boop, get a little hop up off the ground. Damage around corners, which is something else that Vivian lacks.
Yeah.
I think Opportunity is better for what you want your Vivian to be doing, but I can't deny that Booby Trap does have its uses.
Certainly, certainly. It's unique to have that, you know, damage around corners. Not a lot of characters have something like that. It's what made Drogo so strong for a long time, really. He had the only reliable damage around corners and things like that. Na'Vi do grab themselves the win convincingly, but not a blowout game by any means. VP are certainly in the hunt for some map victories in this one.
Yeah, they showed some signs of life. I mean, I'm not surprised they didn't really convert any payloads, because converting a payload on a Vivian standing up top, spamming down an Ascension Peak, they can overwhelm her on some of the other places, but when she can just whack up and just spawn, it's really tough. But they had some great set plays, I think.
VP didn't have that Eevee. That helps a lot to get people off that balcony to safely get in there and poke around. Jaguar Falls will be map number 2 here. Very curious to see what Na'Vi bring out. This was the famous Moji map. If Na'Vi are feeling quite so spicy today, they will have first pick, first ban on Jaguar Falls. Torv takes a seat first. We did see Atlas in game number 1, however. How did you feel about his impact?
I think it was fairly solid. I think he could have done more with some of his cooldowns. I think Exile was very, very underutilized. Just maybe taking out the Vivian from a fight, canceling to save 40%, and then pushing in that time. But I still think his damage, his ability to get out of fights fast, I think it got to VP a lot.
Such a valuable base kit. I feel like it's almost easy for his ultimate to have just kind of fallen out of the conversation, really. It's one of the first times we've seen something like this happen with a character. Atlas Exile is just not really the bread and butter. It's really the base kit that has been so unique, so valuable in a lot of situations. Na'Vi, go for the first pick Barrack. Is this setting up for maybe a 3 DPS, or why do they want this Barrack so much?
With all the I'm not sure. It's probably stopping VP from just going Inara Barrack. All the off-tank bans, right? Because if they want to go double off-tank, then they get stuck with like Ashe Nando, Ashe Ruckus, or Ashe Term. Now, I'm personally a guardian of Term. I still think he's good. I still think he needs a place. You can laugh at me. It's fine. I get it.
Just a small giggle. I mean, it's funny. One of the very first casual games I ever remember playing against you was when Terminus came out. We were playing on Primal Core, just smacking each other in the face. So
I got to level 10 on the PTS with Terminus.
Wow.
Not old leveling system.
Yeah.
He was so much fun when he came out. I mean, he needed the things to happen to him that happened to him, but it is definitely sad.
It's a sad day, man. Bringing a knife to a gunfight, or a massacre axe, I guess, in Terminus's case. It's tough.
Sounds like it could keep up, though, with that name.
It is. It's not an easy quest to be accomplished at. Cassie Genos for Na'Vi to follow it up. Talked about Inara, Ashe. What else is available in terms of the front line? Do they go 3 DPS with what's available? Ruckus has been very hard to run nowadays, but if anyone's going to do it, Phoenix could be one of those guys. Which way do you see them going?
I think it's playable on this. I could see them ending up with a Fernando and then playing off of the ultimate.
Take charge.
Probably trying to be aggressive on some of the sides. They could go triple DPS, but triple DPS on this map is a pretty defensive composition, I think, where you lock down the sides. You can try to wrap around, but against Ashe and Tyra, you're just going to get burnt down, I think, before you can make a play.
There is a lot of hard engage from VP, so Immortal could be a great defensive utility just to pull the emergency brake and to give Na'Vi a second to breathe, bail people out, buy Lazy some time to get out of stuns and things like that so he can drop dome shields, all kinds.
Another thing is Brand actually has really strong value right now.
Okay.
Inara Wardersfield, Inara Wall, Ying Illusions. If he gets 3 things at Brand 4, that's 1,200 healing if he manages to avoid Cauterize for a second. And you can shoot that fireball, hide around a corner, maybe that'll help you get uncaughted, then you can still get the stacks. Like, that's really strong. Brand is a really undervalued, I think, survival tool.
Bomb King locked in. Ruckus is hovered for Na'Vi, and they are going to go ahead and take this one.
It's a more aggressive way.
We talked a lot about, Ruckus can blow you up, but can be blown up. He is one of the lower HP front lines. He's very, very stationary, easy to hit. Tyra Drogos. It's going to be a lot of damage coming his way. How does Phoenix need to play this one to be effective?
I think, actually, the Drogos makes it a little better for him, because now he can kind of play inside. Once he gets Mark, he can play inside. Like, yeah, the tanks can push him, but he can kind of deal with that. And they have the 2 best counters to Ruckus on the DPS lineup on their side.
BK Cassie?
Yeah.
There it is, guys. Na'Vi locking in one of the, I think, lesser seen tanks by far. Sadak plays him a little bit from SSG. Phoenix playing this character a little bit. Maybe Rubu from time to time as well. This is what happens, though, when so many off-tanks are banned. We get to see some of these spicier picks. Let's get it down to the casters for game number 2.
Ruckus, baby, bring the noise. This is what we like to see. Na'Vi going back. And, I mean, this is something that, you talk about team flair, team flavor, what the squads want to play. Ruckus is absolutely at the top of the list there for some of the guys on Na'Vi. We'll see if it's enough to keep their win streak going. Virtus.Pro trying to answer back this time around.
And I think Ruckus is a great pick here in this case for Natus Vincere. I mean, it's as close as you can get to a triple DPS without it actually being a triple DPS. He has the tankiness. He has the emitter shield. He has enough inherent tankiness that he's still technically an off tank.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're able to kind of sit down and plant yourself, you get slowed when you start to auto attack. If you can find a space, you're doing a good bit of damage, especially if you get the Genos mark on your side as well. Early damage, though, goes on to Fasheko. That might make him play a little more passively here, nearly going down, and it does go over to Creatives.
Virtus.Pro here, a much different draft this time around, are the first one on the point. Now, contested just a little bit. Nice shots there from Hakate. Is VP going to try and search it out? But here's Phoenix, the old Ruckus main. He's always trying to play this character, and very happy to be able to pull it out. And like you were saying, a very different type of off-tank. Ruckus peels with damage. He doesn't necessarily stun you or push you out, but if you're there for too long, you get hurt. So you've got to move. That's how Ruckus commands control. And it'll be interesting to see how Na'Vi play, because with Ruckus, you've got to be aggressive.
And that's exactly what he was just now. The 4-man gank, unfortunately, from Virtus.Pro. Calls him out on it. Lazy, though, adds a couple. You got to be careful when you give this guy a Nara. You give him Barrack. He's going to make big plays. That's what he's doing right now. It's all down to Fasheko up in the air.
Meanwhile, Lazy just snapping around trying to find that target. Fasheko being so... is just problematic. A thorn in the side, whatever word you want to be, like an annoying little gnat floating around. That said, Nat doesn't do too much damage. Point goes the way of Natus Vincere. Fasheko has been locked on the outside for the majority of this fight.
Yeah, it's been tough for Fasheko. He has not been able to get himself into a comfortable spot. You saw first blood immediately, just moments into the game before anyone was really on the point, goes the way of Natus Vincere. And that's what Drogoz does. He gets comfortable. He's high and away, and he's doing damage, and Fasheko just hasn't been able to do that yet. The Ruckus has been able to deal with it. Cassie, Bomb King, everyone. And like you said, this is where Phoenix will want to be, sitting back, getting the dismounts right out of the spawn. This could go in if they get a couple kills off this stagger.
Meanwhile, Phoenix is a really good position here. Anybody from Virtus.Pro that sneaks up a little too far is going to be right in range for him to snap onto. Na'Vi pushing up still further, 90% of the way through, and a lot of the damage being dealt very casually. Virtus.Pro have all of their ultimates up. Here's going to be Na'Vi's first shot. The King Bomb coming through. Doesn't find a target, but opens up a hell of a lot of space. Still pushing forward is Na'Vi. Virtus.Pro not really playing defense. Hanara's going to go down to the hand of the Ruckus. Great shot there for Phoenix. And the rest of Na'Vi will just walk it in.
And that it's almost an interesting spot here on Jaguar Falls, right back there at the back, where you have the advantage when you're able to watch the attacking team come up the hill towards you. But when you're respawning and stuck in the back of your base, that's almost an attacker's advantage, especially when you have the AoE damage that Na'Vi does. So the fact that right off of the point fight, they were able to stack kills on top of each other, the stagger coming in so heavily from Natus Vincere, the Virtus.Pro guys were respawning and already stuck in the back of their base by the time the payload was halfway up, and they never really let that go. Spunky had some big plays. The healing was good, but the AoE trapping them in the back, you could see Vex wasn't really able to put himself into a great spot to heal up Dosups. Just good positional control and good calculated aggression that time around from Natus Vincere.
You keep mentioning the AoE, and I love the combination of Creative and Phoenix. Phoenix is obviously single target, but just suppressive fire.
Right.
And Creative's kind of, you avoid Creative's bomb damage by walking into Ruckus's straight shots. And that's a real big problem here, I think, for the guys on Virtus.Pro. Fasheko looking for a new angle with the cute floats, but a little bit too cute. Did he fall down? No, he's going to be able to save himself. I thought Bomb King got him.
I thought it was very close, but that was a good duel, honestly, from both sides. Forcing Fasheko back, but already in a better position is Fasheko just because of those worm jets. But the kills, 1, 2, 3, all in favor of Natus Vincere. Dosups is going to be the last to go. And you talk about calculated, well-timed aggression, that's what you're going to get. 50% because of the fast cap, but Natus Vincere, they just played their spacing, played their matchup so well. Their Creatives poppy bombing himself out right at the right time. He would have died to Fasheko if he didn't play that properly, but instead keeps himself alive. 3 double-digit streaks now for Natus Vincere.
One of the big things that allows Na'Vi to play so efficiently right now, I think, is what you just said, the well-timed, the calculated aggression. There's a difference between aggressive play and recklessness. And when you pick a composition like this, you've got to have your foot on the gas, but this still isn't the Autobot. You got to choose your fights and make your timing really important. And so Na'Vi has just done all that. They protected their carries. 18 streak, 15 streak, 13 streak. Well, all right, casters curse. But Na'Vi has been doing real well here, and they're up 3-0 so far.
And this is just a little bit of a consolation prize, I think, for Virtus.Pro on this one. It's 3-0 with fast cap. You see so often a team will be able to win their next point because of the fast cap. And the damage numbers honestly should tell you everything you need to see. And it's that at a high level, Natus Vincere are just simply out-bullying Virtus.Pro, but you look at the amount of damage Lazy's able to do, out-damaging the damage dealers on the side of Virtus.Pro. That's why this Genos Barrack matchup is so potent. When you're able to get someone like Lazy with a little bit of extra damage on his back, he's going to be able to bully out, create so much more space. And Natus Vincere have been able to take full advantage of all of that.
And the thing is, with Barrack being on the point so much, it's real damage. When you look at, you know, the Drogos on top ahead by 20K, a lot of that is, you know, maybe just secondary damage, maybe incidental damage that doesn't really have an impact on the way the players fight. Everything that Barrack is doing, because he's on the point, is all relevant.
It's true in-your-face bullying damage, exactly as you said, and this is where we saw Natus Vincere flourish last time around, a little bit pushed further back. Virtus.Pro are going to feel a little bit more comfortable here in this case.
This is a much better spot for VP, I think. After this archway, it becomes a little bit more open. Virtus.Pro kind of grab control here. I think this is the better spot. They're actually going to start pushing things backwards. Na'Vi looking for the group up. 30 seconds to go. They do have time for one more push.
They're exactly as you said. They're sort of able to roll out the welcome mat in a bad way. Virtus.Pro are that you sort of beckon them into your base, but the positioning is so much in your favor here on the defensive end. Phoenix did get aggressive, had him pinned back into their base, but just not enough support from the rest of Natus Vincere to replicate what happened from round number 1. 8 seconds left, an early kill from Mutu that's answered back. Still sort of hangs in the balance here.
Contested here as Virtus.Pro starts to take some damage, but it's Dosups that has the double kill so far. Pacheco looking for a different angle. Overtime still as Na'Vi is contesting. Dosups again gets the kill off screen.
Pacheco needs to stay alive here, and that's exactly what he's doing a little bit of damage, but the frontliners are not staying alive, as I say it. Phoenix is still around, has the Hexafire, and there are some grouped up targets, but they're going to elect to save it. They realize they have one more point fight to win, a couple more attempts at it, and 5 stack of ultimates. Fast cap wasn't enough for Virtus.Pro last time around, and honestly, it so much comes down to Lazy dictating this point, in that Dosups is trying to get in and really contest. And he's doing fine, but when you get plugged for so much damage by a Barrack, who does damage anyway, but then has, the shielding, the dome shield, all of that on top of it, it's a losing battle from the start, and Lazy is so good at playing these point tanks, playing them aggressively. I mean, doing more damage than a Cassie, a Bomb King, and a Ruckus. 7-3 and 13, that's really all you need to see here.
That's the key, keep it aggressive. Na'Vi, if they find this victory, it's going to be off of pure aggression. Again, Phoenix on the Ruckus, this is a choice that kind of dictates the way the rest of the team have to play, and I don't think Lazy minds.
No.
He's just chilling, putting up numbers.
Nope. And caught 3 as well on the Barrack. You plug Dosups for 1 shot, 90% healing reduction incoming on an Inara, who needs that healing. The staying power is so much diminished there on that side. Granted, caught 2, caught 3 across the board. Early ultimate starting to fly here. Doesn't able to pick one up there with the through time and space. The assert dominance going just wide as well. But Natus Vincere still in a good spot.
King Bomb coming through here as the rest of Na'Vi group up and look for the push. It is a trade out as Pacheco takes down Phoenix. That's a big part of how Na'Vi intend to take over the point. That said, still contested. Now in blue team favor. Just kidding. Going to be answered back. Virtus.Pro still maintain control. The Inara alive. Creative trying to get over the wall. A beautiful wall coming out from Inara, and that keeps Na'Vi on the outskirts.
The illusory rift bought so much time, but Mutu being able to stay alive in that back room. Nobody was looking at him. Everyone was looking at Lazy and not allowed him to balance it out. If he wasn't there, that would have been very much in the favor of Virtus.Pro. Now it's ticking up 78%, and Virtus.Pro are nowhere near the point.
87 and climbing. Virtus.Pro way on the outskirts. Somebody's got to jump, and they can't. Natus Vincere, another win.
That's about as convincing as you can get. Game 1, Virtus.Pro were hanging around. They were really in there in the fray. This time around, all they get is the defensive stand. Natus Vincere controlling that one from start to finish. A bit unlucky on that one defensive push, but it's rewarding to be able to watch Na'Vi play like that, because you can tell they have a plan coming out of their draft, and watching it get executed in real time is really a treat to watch.
Fun stuff there. Dominant performance. Na'Vi up 2-0.
Thank you, boys. Great job down there on Jaguar Falls. Na'Vi much more in control here than they were in game number 1. And what I kept seeing is something that you actually highlighted in the draft was that playing indoors with this Ruckus, with this Bomb King. I think there was a lot of opportunity for them to sort of leverage that, and it kind of kept a lid on Fisheko.
Yeah, absolutely. He wasn't able to do anywhere near as much as he wanted to. Plus, they almost always had a counter for his ultimate, at least. But when he came in with that punch at the end, King Bomb coming in to trade him out.
It was right there.
Yeah, guaranteeing they were able to do it. Plus, now they had double damage. They can play inside. They can focus the point, deny the point tank advantage that VP had.
7-4 for both front lines. 7-1 for Mutu, struggling on the Tyra. 0-8. Part of that due to, I think, the Ruckus. What do you think?
I mean, the aggression from Na'Vi that they had, that's Tyra's biggest weakness, right? Like, if you're playing into any character that can close the gap really quick, get on your face, not let your team focus fire you down in time, like, that's going to be the weakness. Yeah, I mean, Lazy's hitting everything, regardless, pressuring.
He really does.
Finding that hole in the middle to get that pick onto Hecate. I mean, unfortunate game for him, but Lazy, I think, performed well as he always does.
Hell of an aimer here on the point front line. But one of the things that we always highlight about him and what makes a point front line great is the ability to translate from the point to what he's doing now, putting pressure on the back line and recognizing, hey, this guy could die here. I'm going to go do it myself.
Yeah, because he's one of the main tanks that you pick are the characters that can get away with that. You know, like the Inara, the Barrack, they're the ones who can get in and get out if you use your cooldowns right. And Lazy, I mean, he definitely knows how to use his cooldowns right.
So Hecate goes 0-8 there. I'm a little bit worried about him moving forward. That's one of those losses that maybe tilts you a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, if you go 0-8, you're more. It's not a team tilt, more so like an internal tilt. Everyone kind of takes it differently.
Yeah.
You know, but he never struck me as the kind of guy who'd be like, my team. Like,
yeah, no,
is why
definitely
he's going
not.
0-8. Yeah, he's never been that kind of
definitely
person. So I'm sure that's more of like an introspective, like, what was I doing? Like, could I have positioned further back to make them dive further, make them burn more cooldowns? Hopefully we can see another Hecate.
And
in the
that's
next
part
game.
of it. Sometimes you just get those matchups. You have the short straw in some of these games. And this time around, make no mistake, I do feel it was Hecate, but 0-8 is still tough to swallow at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think it was Tyra's worst matchup either. I think that's Ashe. I think an Ashe into a Tyra is brutal because she can shield your DR. She can shield your damage. She can bash into you. The Ashe and damage ult combo basically will insta-kill the Tyra. Most Tyras don't run max health, so they won't really survive a lot of that burst like Gen Assault.
Tyra is one of those tankier backline damage dealers. Has the innate lifesteal. That's something I think isn't talked about quite enough. She starts with life rip 1.5 essentially, and it's something that helps keep her sustained. She has one of the higher health pools. All things that are good for a character with no mobility like Tyra is. Shattered Desert, the next selection. Tyra has been big on this map in particular.
Yeah, she is really strong on this map because it's so wide. There's less places to hide on the mid fight if you have an aggressive enough composition. And I know why VP picked this. Na'Vi historically have banned wide maps. I mean, they've banned Fish 5 times. They've banned Shattered 4 times. Timber 3 times. Those are maps that are pretty open. So I think VP probably looked at that and said, well, this could be a weakness of theirs, a big open map.
Do you think that has something to do with their style and how they just really love to play the objective and they need little nooks and crannies and things to fall back to? But if everything's wide open, they're getting flanked, their strategy probably doesn't have as much merit.
It puts more pressure on the point tank. Although I don't know if that's the right call against Na'Vi, because I feel like I've never felt like Lazy was a weak point for the team.
No.
But maybe they feel like he could be exploitable on this map that's outside of their style.
I'll be honest, I don't know anyone that's a weak point for Na'Vi.
Yeah,
it's a tough nut to crack for sure. Teams have been trying to do it for years now. This is a squad that has almost repeated world championships. They came in second before Spunky would have gotten his 3rd ring. All the Thanos memes, all the Infinity Stones collected. For the man with the plan right there. A little bit of a switch up in the bands, though. Not an off tank, a point tank. And Nara takes a seat, putting some more pressure and some more value on that Barrack.
That is interesting. Maybe Na'Vi wants to get a strong double off tank, so they're forcing VP to pick Barrack early here if they want a point tank themselves.
Because VP have in the past, and I'm talking like last week, 2 weeks ago, really love the Barrack. Like, first pick this character, pick it very, very highly, and build comps around their point tanks.
That was after the buff. I think they thought it was just going to have this insane value, and Barrack got better, but people found the strength of the Inara and the sustain character. Now that that's gone, maybe they'll try to revert VP back to that.
I think that buff is a good time to reflect on our knee-jerk reactions to balance changes. Sometimes everyone was just like, "Oh my God, Barrick is going to destroy the league and stand on the ashes," but he really kind of just didn't. So let the balance changes play out, let the chips fall where they may, and that is part of why I think this split has been so special, because balance changes have been light, and you really have to figure it out yourselves, and we've left it largely up to the players to defeat the meta rather than waiting around for the scales of balance to tip in their favor. Kresnik yet again hits the nail on the head, baited into the Barrack as Na'Vi grabbed the double aggro tank.
Which is insane on this map. I mean, just the ability to close that gap with Ashe plus Khan is basically, I think, the best hybrid main tank off tank. He's one of the few that can kind of really toe that line almost as well as either role. Like, he can basically do either. It doesn't matter. One of the reasons why he gets banned, just to deny flexibility from the other team. Maybe you can force them into a more streamlined draft.
So versatile. And at the end of the day, if Ashe has to ult on point, she can really even bring something in that front as well. A lot of opportunity for flexibility here for Na'Vi. Barrack is going to be that only selection for VP. And I think when you think about what Dosovs can play, in Nara, Barrack is 99% of the time what he plays. Beyond that, I mean, you see people try to swing Fernando on the point sometimes, but it's not a great situation. So I think Na'Vi did a good job of lulling them into that Barrack.
Yeah, and also right now they're trying to put them onto a worse off tank. Because again, just like last game, like what's left? It's Ruckus, Nando, Term.
Yep.
And they're going to have to either go triple DPS, which is playable on this map, so VP might not be feeling too bad about that, or they're going to go with the Ruckus. Almost like a flip in the drafts from last game.
It's as close as you can get to 3 DPS without it being 3 DPS in the end. Ruckus is very, very close, toes that line between frontline and damage dealer, so he is going to scale well with the Genos. Double backline, though, for Na'Vi.
That's really good into aggressive comps.
Gotcha.
If
so
you can play far enough away.
Ruckus,
and those are cast as characters that have no fall off.
You don't think Ruckus will be able to get there safely, essentially, is what you're saying?
I think Ruckus will really have to... Not into the scout. First mid, maybe, but once the scout's up, the Ruckus is going to have to really find the hole. If Na'Vi play exceptional like they do, I don't know if the Ruckus can get it.
While these are low mobility backlines, you're looking at probably probably Impulse for Mutu. Mutu loves Impulse, almost always.
Yeah.
And kind of brought that back. Shaolin is the single hardest character to go toe-to-toe with. It planted is so much damage. Very, very good drafts from both sides. Each have their pros, each have their cons. Let's find out who's going to take this one.
Na'Vi Virtus.Pro game numero 3. And we're going to be fighting on an all-new map, Shattered Desert. We'll see how these guys do. The double archers on the side of Na'Vi. An interesting choice there. What's your thought process on how Na'Vi has built their team?
It's always an interesting map watching it unfold here on Shattered Desert. And I will disagree with Nick in that I think both teams do have their pros, 5 of them in fact, but only Natus Vincere have the con.
It's a single con in a sea of pros. You've got to be aware. Tom Badlinger, Dolson, Dave Olson on the cast, and of course Cornbread on the 1s and 2s, bringing you the best observation in the biz. Virtus.Pro trying to fight their way back into it. Na'Vi already with 2 wins above none. Virtus.Pro making the first move in this third contest. They're a third of the way through.
And this Hecate and Mutu duel is where my eyes go really in this one. I think Natus Vincere have sort of a traditional controlling with the Ashe, bullying with the Khan kind of lineup. Mutu dancing around sort of the map elements, trying to find some angles. But Hecate and Mutu are going to go toe-to-toe in this one, both similar style characters. So I think that's where your eyes need to go. If Hecate is able to open up, you've seen it, we saw it yesterday. If he's able to open up and feel safe on this Leon, bad things happen if you're Natus Vincere.
Well, also, if I could oversimplify it for a bit, when it comes down to the archers, both Shaolin and Cassie, a little bit more difficult to land your shots than the characters like the Vivians and the Tyras that we've seen, but the payoff a little bit more so. This is Na'Vi 100% just trusting their DPS and going, all right, boys, blast them. I hope you can hit your shots. Right now, not the case. Virtus.Pro take the first point and are looking for the push. They've already got about 25% of the way through.
Virtus.Pro taking a note out of Natus Vincere's book here with the draft. Very similar to what Natus Vincere brought last time around. You have so much offensive power, so much bully potential with the Barrack, with the Ruckus, all of that across the board. And they're making it work so well here. They didn't let Natus Vincere get comfortable once in that mid-fight.
This is actually usually where I start to get a little bit wary, because we talk a lot about how the pick is a ban as well, taking it away from your opposition.
Absolutely.
But you've got to be wary of playing your opponent's game. I see the Ruckus, the Barak, the Jetos. This is just what Na'Vi played the last time, but Virtus.Pro make the important change. Give Visheko the Eevee and the Leonda Hecate. This is something a little bit more in their wheelhouse, and I love the way they're being able to execute it. Big damage out of Pule Ule. They get turned around on by Mutu.
And that was a nice trade there. Visheko for Spunky. Actually, Virtus.Pro coming out a little bit ahead of that one. Natus Vincere have no healing, but what's important is that matchup I was talking about, the Mutu-Hecate matchup. Not that Hecate performed poorly in that last fight, but Mutu just outperformed. He was able to find the angle, find the kills, because otherwise there was no healing for Natus Vincere. Virtus.Pro chose that moment to get aggressive, and there was no answer from Natus Vincere. That one could have gone in, because Shattered Desert, similarly to Ascension Peak, once it gets to a certain point, even if you're in overtime, it rolls downhill very quickly.
Still pushing forward, Virtus.Pro. Kind of taking a slow down here, as it's more about Na'Vi kind of coalescing their resources and waiting for one big punch forward. About 30 seconds left to go, give or take, and Virtus.Pro going to be able to inch up, but here comes Na'Vi getting a little bit more excited about greeting Virtus.Pro at the front door.
Could be a Hexafire. Oh no, but he answers back with the overpower. Lazy on the Pule. That could have just saved it, but now they're out of position. The payload's so close to going in. One kill getting returned from Natus Vincere. It looks like they're going to be able to buy themselves some time, but still 10 seconds left, Tom.
Hecate pushed off, 7 seconds to go. Virtus.Pro not in control. Na'Vi on the point a little bit more so. This is going to be big trouble for the blue team. They're not even able to get overtime. Great defensive set from Na'Vi. They just plant their spikes in the ground and refuse to move.
That's exactly what it was, and Phoenix getting aggressive again on the Ashe. At a first glance, I was thinking to myself, I mean, you got to be in there to contest the point. Like the rest of your team is, fanning out, trying to do the damage, and then watching him play it out immediately makes me, I guess in this case, eat my thoughts. And it was just, he was controlling where Virtus.Pro were able to move. He was playing so aggressively, he did end up getting low. I'm not sure he ended up dying, but what was important is that he didn't let anyone from Virtus.Pro. He was doing the opposite. He was saying, I'm not going to be there necessarily to make sure the payload doesn't go in, but you're not going to be able to get a touch onto the payload and allow it to move forward here. Ultimate-wise, Virtus.Pro at full form. The overpower notably missing from Natus Vincere, so early advantage as far as just general staying power in this composition goes to Virtus.Pro, but it depends how aggressive they're able to get right off the bat.
Vex and Spunky largely matched as far as healing numbers are concerned, and honestly, they're just doing their job. No real support standout plays, but Lazy absolutely isolating Vex. And now the rest of Na'Vi gonna look for the fight now that Vex is down for the count. Not a lot of healing coming out, so 3-4 players. Na'Vi just setting up camp.
Not a lot of healing in this case equals 0 healing from the Genos. I mean, he's a very front-loaded healer anyway. He'll start off the fight quickly for you. He'll get you an advantage in the fight, just given his Astromark, the damage amp. Then, when you lose some health, that healing will start to kick in. But when you lose him right off the bat, the damage amp will go back to cooldown, and then there's no healing back on the backside of that. So finding Vex first was a beautiful pick there by Natus Vincere.
Yeah, great target prioritization. It gets them to the point. There will be a little bit of contestation after the fact. More time ticking one more time, but honestly, I think Na'Vi are just one bullet away. There it is. The point captured one more time in the way of black and yellow. Spunky!
What?
Rolling trips. Give this man the money. The support player with the triple kill. That's what's up.
I will leak some information. He recorded a Damba play like a pro with us the other day. So you want to listen to it when it comes out, because you're able to find a triple kill on the Damba. It's not every day that you can say that. This guy makes use of everything from the kit of the Snake Charmer here in this case, and you got to be careful on any healer. He's one of those old age healers who can, not literally in life, but as far as the game of Paladins goes, he can play anyone in the game. Dom is certainly included in that one, and when he gets comfortable, he's on 12 streak right now. Any healer on a streak that high is going to make life tough for the other team. The more uptime on the healing you can get. You saw the opposite with Vex. The moment Vex died, Virtus.Pro crumbled. So the fact that Spunky's been able to stay alive and find some kills has been huge for Natus Vincere.
Navi still pushing forward. And Virtus.Pro finally going to contest right here. Good play from Fisheko, looking for the sky play. Won't be able to find it, but gets Phoenix from the left-hand side. Navi still trying to push up with 3 players strong.
Oh.
One goes down to the side of Creatives. And now all of a sudden the power play is gone. Navi still looking for the push.
And that's tough. The advantage in a barrel stuff situation like that has to go to Eevee, but massive shots from Creatives pulls it back. That's a good Dread Serpent, buying some space for Natus Vincere. If the re-engage came in from Virtus.Pro, it could have been dangerous.
There's so much time though, Dolson.
Yeah, plenty of
Almost
time.
a minute on the clock. And Navi are getting pushed back, but again, we saw this the last time, more of a coalescence, waiting for everything to come up. 3 ultimates available, and impactful ones at that.
They just need 1 pick. That's all they're looking for here, especially onto Vex or one of the damage dealers like Hecate. The door could be kicked in here.
There's going to be more players going down if Navi have their way about it. Creatives on the 11 streak, rolling in, rolling out, and this one's going to be pushed all the way down. 3-1, Natus Vincere.
And it's just a pick play. I mean, the fact that having 1 less damage dealer on their side, especially Hecate in this case, the long-range poke, is enough to allow Natus Vincere not only the numbers advantage, but to play so much more aggressively because they don't have Hecate staying all the way back on the Leon doing damage from a long distance.
Oh, this is that triple kill that we saw out of the support player. I'm glad you rectified yourself. You know, you said some old talent in the game. He's
In
a
the game,
veteran,
of course, right.
But clearly, hot young talent here. Spunky is on the side of Natus Vincere. These guys, I mean, all together. I mean, Lazy, some hot young talent. Phoenix, hot young talent there as well. So these guys coming out and trying to be aggressive, trying to play crazy, be rabid about it, and just look to take over the point here. They're going to be the first ones on it. 9, 12, and pushing.
And you know, Virtus.Pro have a great lineup. They have a lot of shields, but when you put Wrecker on a Cassie, especially a big game Cassie, I didn't remember which legendary he was running, Creatives, but when you have that much damage on shields, there's no staying power on that side.
Yeah,
it is Impulse. Okay.
Right.
Even regardless,
it's the
Wrecker
shield
2 on a Cassie blows up shields. No staying power for Ruckus. No staying power for the Barrack.
Impulse has been coming out a little bit more often. A little low on the action. Scratch that. Nice shot there. I'll ask you later, bud.
There's the dismount.
57-60, man, the count. Virtus.Pro, they've got 4 ultimates. They're waiting for it. There's Eevee. She's going to pop it right in the middle. Lazy goes down. Vex with the credit for that one. Big push by Virtus.Pro. They retake the point. 23 and 27% here. And now this control is on the blue side.
Fisheko needs to stay alive. He's really the last line of defense in this case. He's able to trade out. Dosups does get onto the point, but he has to get out, get aggressive. He's trying to find Spunky dancing around the shield, though. Spunky with the stun and the kill. And Natus Vincere take the point, take the win, and are now 1 map away from sealing up their week.
That man right there, Spunky, absolutely playing it. This is the man that just provided so much. When you can lean on your support player, obviously for the heals and obviously for the stuff that the kit brings, but also grab some kills. Yeah, we'll take it, baby.
Why not? Extra damage from the healer on top of the healing is always going to be good. And this is just, I honestly wonder if Navi are maybe playing with like a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They had a tough day yesterday. Didn't really get to show their best, so they knew today they had to come out firing on all cylinders.
The answer is yes.
It must be. It must be, because that's what's happening.
Absolutely. No, there's no world that, you and much love to Mike, there's no world that you come back after that and just go, yeah, just another day at the office.
It's the way the cookie crumbles in this case.
Navi fired up, trying to find their final cookie. We'll toss it back to the desk.
Solid drafting, I think, on display there from Navi. Shattered Desert going their way again pretty handily. This one's up 3-0 in their favor. Nobody's come back from a 3-0 deficit.
No, they haven't. And I don't know if VP will be able to after that performance. I mean, I think they had the idea for their draft, but what I mentioned before, like double backline, it can struggle on closer maps against aggressive comps, but there's just too much distance to cover for the composition they had.
Yeah, Puleole getting pretty shut down there, 5 and 11, just over 30,000 damage. You can see the strengths in the draft for Na'Vi. When they picked the Ruckus, it was in a really nicely orchestrated situation. They were able to play indoors and be effective on it. Na'Vi, one of the best drafting teams in the business. Phoenix does a lot, I think, to drive those, and he certainly does a lot to back it up once they get in the game. Mutu having a great day as well, playing a couple of different things at this point. Looking like he got a whole night's rest.
Yeah, looking like he did not get in here at 2 a.m. Maybe he was playing on the plane. You think he got the Wi-Fi?
I don't know,
little
man.
netbook on the tray.
Hasn't really been scrimming with the team this week. Just gets off the plane like the superstar he is and takes care of business. Plays the Shaolin here. Very, very solid stuff. And really, really nice use of explosive arrow there. A little bit of peel. You ever think you'd say that sentence, Shaolin, with the peel? Gets a great explosive arrow off there just to make sure that stacker gets as brutal as possible for Dosas.
Yeah, I like the idea of the explosive arrow here because the recurve, like the DPS is higher overall, but once resilience comes on, your stun isn't as important. But having that explosive damage against the Eevee means that any other damage will probably kill her. So having that in the pocket is really nice.
Whether or not it's as a result of Eevee, it's very vivid in my mind when Mutu just started to run Impulse every game again and really moved away from that big game. And now, you know, with the way things are moving with Cassie, Impulse has started to catch on, I think, with more and more players. And burst damage, that's, I think, a big part of why Shaolin came back in, is what you just mentioned there with explosive arrow. Shutting that character down. She's been so impactful for so many teams. So finding a way to deal with her and finding a way to deal with this Eevee in particular. This is Fasheko, right? This is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. In my personal opinion, he is the best at this character. And being able to keep a lid on him is something that I just don't think VP can go without. They need him to be that superstar.
Yeah, they need the space to be made for him. But, you know, like Poulet was kind of getting focused down in that last comp. I mean, I mentioned before the game started that the first mid might be good, but then once Scout was online, he has to end the game fast. And when they see him coming, he won't be able to get in the way he wants to.
Talk to me a little bit about Scout, because Scout is one of those things that you really need to almost be in comms to hear the value, because it's not a damage boost, it's not anything, you know, stat related other than movement speed for Cassie. So what is it about Scout that is so valuable?
Now, I don't want to say an opponent of Scout. I have a distaste for Scout as an ultimate personally, because as a tank, when you want to execute a plan, right? Suddenly you hear, go Ziggs! And you're like, well, I can't do anything now. Like, I can't make a cool flank play. I can't do that.
So it's personal.
I just have to wait. It is, I would want to say it's not, but it absolutely is. It's such a strong ultimate in a team environment because you think, I want to execute this. I want this to happen. They ultimate. Now you can't do that specific thing. Like, immediately your plan has to change. Like, as you're going ult, like, oh, I'll go in, I'll Ash ult, we'll land here. You can through time and space on me. It'll be perfect. And then, go Ziggs! Oh, well, I mean, if you plan for that now, it's like, well, we can wait. But now they know.
Yeah, now they know it's coming. And true vision, true sight through the walls has been something that really has come into the forefront with Tyra Marks, you know, Hunting Party being so popular. And it's been a point of frustration, I think, for a lot of players, right? Something that you haven't had to play much against before. So it's something that you took for granted, your ability to flank. And flanks in general outside of Eevee, not in really contest here in most of these drafts. Saw Xin yesterday. That was kind of fun. I love that character. I just love flankers in general. I wish they would come back in a little bit of a way.
I think he showed his strength actually yesterday, Xin, but I think it's definitely more of like a pocket pick for NIP. I think he can still see some play. I liked the build they were running. I had seen it in casuals a little bit. The footwork 3 for the extra rotation ability with the 30% movement speed. It's kind of a good filler for the billow duration. You can get around corners faster, use the lands to keep yourself alive instead of just being intangible for some reason.
Definitely. Stonekeep, that's map number 4. Eevee's banned out for VP, so something else is up their sleeves. And I don't know if I'm alone in this opinion, but I don't feel as though Eevee is really something Na'Vi are like chomping at the bit to get. They can play it, but I don't think it's their first choice.
I think they take it more to deny it from other people.
I agree.
Like, they would probably take it against us. Maybe they would take it against VP specifically, like or Kanga. Taking Eevee away from them is they know they can play it. They know they can play it well, but they just want to be denying them something.
It's not their first pick.
They're so flexible they can do that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, this Eevee ban for VP. What are you accomplishing? with this at the end of the day, because I don't think this is, if you didn't want it, it probably wouldn't get picked. Na'Vi, that, like I said, they don't really jump at the chance to grab that character. Barrack banned away.
You're out of time.
Are we seeing maybe some type of similar strategy that we saw on Shattered Desert?
Na'Vi are ecstatic right now because they really like an Archon.
You
I have a
are
feeling,
not
yeah,
welcome
not even
here.
hovered. Cornbread knows it's coming. It's coming right through.
They know.
An Archon. Na'Vi loves an Archon. And them getting it now, I'm sure they're feeling already very confident about this draft.
Yeah. Is this just something you have come to discover, studying their drafts and things like that? Anytime it's open, they grab it type of situation?
They just like to land on it. I think it's really good for how they like to play, just the EU style. NiP doesn't really play. The only thing NiP does that's EU, I think, is the fact that they like to draft the same things and have the same plan. But I mean, you think EU, you think patient, you think sustain, right? Like VP came into that land an eternity ago with bulk up Buck, and no one was ready for that, at least not in North America. So Na'Vi kind of playing the classic EU style of sustain, and Archon as a tank duo is the best for that by far.
Safety is their best policy. To respond, Virtus.Pro have grabbed Cassie as well as Furia. Now, we talk a little bit about Solar Blessing when we talked about Furia. That was really the talent selection for her in the early onset of the league, but now that Cherish has received the range buff, it has almost exclusively been the path that Furia players have chosen.
I still think Solar Blessing has a place. I mean, I don't
agree.
remember if I
Didn't
said...
get any worse.
Yeah, it didn't get any worse. And people, I see Cherish on the wide maps like
You
Fish,
are
Shattered
nothing but
Desert,
dust in the wind.
Timber even. But like on maps like... You could probably run Cherish on here, but on maps like
Probably
Ice
could,
Mines
yeah.
and Jag,
Yeah.
I don't see the reason to run Cherish over that. People just say that the stun value is high, but it's not as high as you'd want it to be.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. It's tough to confirm. Unless you're like Mike or something,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you hit those every time. Cross map, close map doesn't necessarily matter. Mike takes those. Furia though, Solar Blessing it's you and your front lineman. You got to be on the same page. You got to be communicating. You got to catch those. If you miss one, it's probably done and dusted. We were lucky enough to have a little play like a pro action with Vex highlighting this character, so it's one that he knows inside and out. Ban the Eevee, pick the Drogos. That's what it looks like VP are going to do.
That is
I like
interesting.
Drogos on Stone Keep, man.
I think Drogue is good on Stone Keep. I think you want them to have a good keep comp because you want to lock them in. Because if they're outside, yes, they can play in church, but they can kind of play far enough back on the platform and on the stairs where they're still poking you down.
The dragon's fury.
Drogo's locked in, which I think
Ashe
is still
is
pretty
hovering.
solid. Ashe. I would be surprised if the Ashe, yeah. There's no point tank left. They're probably going to run like Fortress Breaker Ashe, or they're just going to go do Battering Ram and try to dive the back line. Shaw and Leon, and those are two pretty mobile, kind of hard to dive DPS, especially once Shaw gets until Illuminate's up.
Yeah.
Shaw's stealth, it's so hard to find him in some of these fights.
Hard to find him. If he gets a good angle on you, you can go down swinging with Shaolin. You can just go into the planet and plug somebody for 3K before they're able to take you down. Leon, a rock solid pick for Mutu as well, and it's that food chain, man. It's the Predator, the Prey, Drogos versus Leon. We talk a lot about that matchup going into this one. And Mutu's flexible enough. The hit scan pool is shallow enough to where he's going to love to play this one. I don't think he's going to be missing many of these shots. Vasheko's got his work cut out for him. It's a 3-0 deficit. Let's get it down to the casters and see if VP can begin their climb.
That's what we're hoping that VP can make the climb. But right now, I mean, we'll see if hope floats. I'm looking real strong at Na'Vi. These guys have really just come out and kind of put on a clinic.
Yeah, I think Virtus.Pro put themselves in a good spot, and the drafting hasn't been bad from Virtus.Pro, but it's not like there's a huge glaring error in any of their drafts. I think the drafts have been fine from VP throughout the day. Na'Vi have just drafted one champion better maybe in each of the drafts and then played their drafts to a top level here. Battering Ram, as Kresnik called for. Pretty standard there on the Ashe. Get a little 90% DR. And the Furia is kind of telling of what Virtus.Pro are going to look to do. I think in my eyes, you send Fasheko up high as a standard. That's not what's surprising, but you hope that he's able to plug away enough damage that by the time the Inflame is up, you can not only win the fight with the Inflame, but the members of Natus Vincere are so low that the fight happens quickly, and you're able to win the objective on top of that. But an early kill from Creatives, that's going to start things off well for Red.
Natus Vincere have control of the point so far, a little over 1/4. They abandon it, Lazy steps back on, and are still going to look for it. Virtus.Pro just shoved way out here.
Yeah, wow.
They're nowhere near it. This is a 3-point paid in full.
It's a high execution but high potential lineup for Natus Vincere, especially with the Shaolin, especially with the Leon. If you're hitting your shots, creatives and Mutu on the opposite side, if they're able to hit their shots, Virtus.Pro are not going to be able to get in. This is how you deal with the Drogos. It's unfortunate, but you get a Leon, you get creatives on his Mutu as well. Or creatives on his Mutu. Creatives on his Shaolin, Mutu on his Leon. And then you have that damage presence with the Drogos flying up high and above. I don't think Pacheco's going to be able to get comfortable like they need him to this time around. Natus Vincere, good stun from Spunky I saw in that high keep area. Helped Natus Vincere win that point, and that wasn't even close. Full 100-0 this time for Natus Vincere.
Pushing still, though, is Khan maintaining control of this Drogos. And I think that's the really big deal, is that Pacheco has just been pushed out of the fight almost single-handedly by Khan. And that is such a liability to have a high-performing, high-octane choice like Drogos just not involved.
You know, normally it's like one or the other. Maybe you have one hit scan, one direct damage. But in this case, you have Leon, you have Khan. Mutu, a little bit harder to hit shots on the Drogos, but still, you know, it's in sort of that Cassie territory. You have 3 threats onto Pacheco, and he has to play so much safer. He can't really poke his head around this corner. You wouldn't want to anyway. But it depends how he's able to use this Dragon Punch, because right now he's not able to really get into this fight very much at all.
Yeah, Mutu slides out of control. Creatives here now looking for, but again, Natus Vincere just pushing. And again, they have control. Virtus.Pro finally gets somebody on the point real quick, but Uli literally thrown onto the other side of the cart. Now dealing with Creatives, who's been sitting here finding pot shots for a while, finally discovered by the opposing team. That might slow Natus Vincere down just a little bit, but it doesn't look like it.
And that's the that's the high potential of the Atlas in this case. The second chance gives you basically a full heal, and then a huge amount of burst damage returning right in there onto Mutu, who's nearly able to get the kill. But then the full rotation from Pule keeps him alive in this case, so that shows why Atlas is sort of in a pick ban sort of state right now. 22 seconds left, a good overpower. That's right onto the Ash from Dosups in this case. Doesn't get the kill, Spunky cleans it up, but that's already a 2 for 0.
Pacheco trying to float around on the right side. Na'Vi. I clear my throat, they clear the point. That one's going the way of the red team. They are 2 points away, and that, what's the word? Pristine.
The bird.
Clean.
The bird is the word.
I'm getting, not only did Dawson say that, the people
The
backstage said that. You guys need to get out more.
We were talking about this on the desk yesterday.
Just get out.
No, in that case, it's just a good use of the overpower. It was on a Dosups. He actually ended up hitting his head on the overpass on his way through there. Spunky's able to get the kill.
Good.
Beautiful wall. And again, you see here, this is, I don't know, because Vex is so far back, so it's not necessarily a positioning error in my eyes for him in that case.
I think that's
but
just
lazy playing so aggressive.
Yeah.
You don't expect to turn around, get walled off by an Inara that's in behind the rest of your team, and it's those little moments that don't necessarily always show up. But the Inflame from Virtus.Pro, that's going to start this one off aggressively.
And there's going to be a big punch. Mutu gets the last hit. Pacheco falls down. Stone Keep, one of my favorite maps. I love this choke point.
No.
I love this choke point. And so does Na'Vi. Phoenix, Mutu, Spunky. This is one of those ones where the team makes it easy for us. I mean, they're just getting kills.
The problem, it's all happening so fast, it's hard to break down the individual moments there, but the aggressive Inflame was a good thought, but they didn't find any kills off of it, so by the time it burns out, they're all out of position. You go so deep, you bite off so much with the Inflame, and then you don't get any payoff from it. Then that just leaves you exposed. The Dread Serpent wasn't used by Spunky, it was at the end of the fight. That sent 2 running. Creative's in a perfect position to capitalize on it. Dosups was way too deep. Not necessarily at anyone's fault, they just couldn't find the kills. Too much counter positioning from Natus Vincere left Virtus.Pro pretty much out in the open at the end of the ultimate.
And that's really the key, is that Na'Vi are playing their game today in this match. Na'Vi are playing their game better than Virtus.Pro, and they're playing Virtus.Pro's game better than Virtus.Pro.
Right.
Not only are Na'Vi making these plays and making these excellent, not even adaptations, they just brought Ruckus to the party, right? Not only are they making their own moves, but they're responding to what VP are doing so well.
God, Pacheco is absurd at this.
It's insane.
Excuse me, Phoenix. Pacheco is too, but Phoenix is absurd at this game. Every once in a while, you'll see just one of those crazy plays, and that time 2v1ing. Spunky coming in benefits from the damage that Pacheco, I keep saying it, that Phoenix did, and grabbing the double kill there. But you get lazy on Inara, you get Phoenix on the con. Those are their picks. That's as comfortable as you get for those two. I imagine this one goes in. The Dragon Punch starts things off well. That's one member down now for Natus Vincere. But that's so much utility. They still have Overpower, Heat Haze, and Seismic Crash for Natus Vincere.
Almost at the point. Just a hair away. 1 minute to go here for Na'Vi as they're on game, set, match point, the whole enchilada. They are being pushed back here by Virtus.Pro. Na'Vi waiting for their moment. Here comes Hecate looking for big shots. He's able to find 2 of them. Again, nice pause.
That's the power of the Inflame in that case. The last hit from Hecate is good, but Phoenix, he's still alive. He's still causing a terror. There's a Seismic Crash. There's your ultimate advantage. Assert dominance, buy some time here for Dosops, but there's so many members of Natus Vincere around him. If he's not able to stay alive, this could go the wrong direction. The respawns for Virtus.Pro are close. They are coming through. Pacheco's finally able to open up. Hecate firing away from the high ground as well.
Hecate's the only one here. Rolls off the point real quick to avoid the shore fire nonsense that's coming up. Ule grabs the front line. Still nobody has to jump on the point just yet. 6 seconds to go. Virtus.Pro trying. Na'Vi expect him to surge right about now. Everybody up on the point. Overtime forced, obviously, as we're in Virtus.Pro's front yard. Ule by himself trying to push up, taken down by Phoenix on the good side of the front line. Now on the backside is Pacheco. He's dealt with by Spunky, but still alive. And it's not good enough. Na'Vi take the point, the game, and the set. 4-0 for the black and yellow.
That's some retribution there for yesterday. A tough loss. 0-4, Big Mike walking by. That's the best part of all this. There he is, the head nod from Mike. We get to see him here despite not being in the booth. But 4-0 this time around for Natus Vincere. A convincing top-to-bottom performance. Picks were good. Drafts were good. Gameplay was good. It's just a clean day, top to bottom.
This was your ideal PPL day, I think, if you're Na'Vi. And if you're not Na'Vi, these are the days that you dream of. I said it during the broadcast. You know, these guys played their game. They obviously played their game better than Virtus.Pro played their game. But then Na'Vi also played VP's game better. Na'Vi were able to make the aggressive plays. And then when they were forced into a reactionary spot, they still had the upper hand, almost always understanding where Virtus.Pro wanted to go in-game, out of game. 4-0 in every sense of the word.
And this is the tough thing to nail down about Virtus.Pro. Yesterday they take the best team in the league to 7 points in that 7th game, nearly winning it, and then today they get wiped. I mean, they're hard to figure out, but they do have the potential to beat some of the best teams in this league.
Ups and downs, but it's all ups for Na'Vi. We'll break it down on the desk.
Well, lots to be unpacked there, I think, at the end of the day. That's a 4-0. I think FDOT said it best. That's your ideal day of PPL action if you're Na'Vi. Fun kind of game yesterday. They didn't take that 4-0 too hard. They come in, they handle business, and leave smiling for their weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're definitely happy with how this went. And I think the fact that they didn't give anything away in their gameplay yesterday might have helped them a lot coming into today. Because everyone knew they weren't going to play Furia.
That's true.
Furia Genos pick.
That's true.
But VP played 8 games.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take away for Na'Vi, and they looked very prepared.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a great point. So many maps played for VP, and Na'Vi, especially on like Shattered Desert, to a lesser extent here, I think this was more of just like 3-0, just kind of beating them down. Not much left in the tank there for VP, but specifically on that Shattered Desert map, and even to an extent on Jaguar Falls, it did feel, you felt that outdraft a little bit for Na'Vi. 13 KDA for Phoenix. I think both frontliners, Lazy and Phoenix, had incredible games on Stone Keep here. They really put their foot down to close this set.
Yeah, Stone Keep, it looked like they had a really hard time for VP. It looked like they had a hard time resetting. Like they were using ultimates a little staggered. I know Doe had a pretty good ult onto the back line, couldn't get out after it, and then when everything kind of fell apart, he just didn't have the ult to sustain on the point.
Yeah.
Led to the 4-0.
We talked a lot about, you know, the point front lines being banned. Barrack was banned, and R was taken, and that you don't see a lot of double aggro tank from VP. You just don't. Going so far as to say you will see high priority on getting at least 1 point front line for Dosops. that was just not something I think was in their wheelhouse at the end of the day. Comes back to the point. Na'Vi very prepared in the drafts, it seemed, for VP. Na'Vi grabbed the W here. Dethrone the second place Space Station game.
Back down to third.
With 4 maps here. It ebbs and flows, young Kresnik. You guys will have your chance. 8-4, 8-4, 8-5 through 2 through 4. There is a lot of contests there. Now Kangar definitely within striking distance of Virtus.Pro to grab 5th seed. A lot is still up in the air. NIP are guaranteed first. Our top 6 are our top 6. We're just going to shuffle around the cards and see who ends up where going in MSI. And that's an important thing. Seeding. Staying away from NIP as long as you possibly can is a great thing to talk about where you want to be seeded.
Too. The top 2 are really good. They get to play the teams coming up from the MSI qualifier bracket with the 4 console teams, the 4 PML teams. I mean, of course, any team playing here wants to play that because you're playing a team that probably hasn't played in this environment before. Should be a big advantage, barring another like purity situation.
Yeah. Unless there's another Rubu and Rock Monkey to be crowned.
Coming from the console league.
Then we might have some situation. I'm personally excited for the console competition, the crossplay stuff. I hope crossplay is just the future of gaming in general. It's a very, very fun thing to bring people together. Lazy and Phoenix standing by.
All right, guys, congratulations. Bouncing back after an unfortunate set yesterday. Sort of in general, what was the game plan coming in today? How did you guys look to bounce back from the set yesterday?
Our plan was to make up for the -4 map record that we got yesterday, and that's what we did.
We were able to do exactly that. One thing that I noticed throughout all of the games today, actually with both of you, was that you were able to kind of play free and aggressive on the point tank and the off tank. What about the way the rest of the team plays allows you guys to be free and clear to push forward?
So free and clear to push forward. How am I gonna even answer that question? I think it's something to do with the compositions they had, like what kind of characters that made it easier for us to play free. Them having Eevee that focuses on the back line, and Faye can basically just run in there with Ash and just do whatever he wants because they are gonna lack that kind of damage. At the same time, I just don't know. Like the games were weird today. They were fast. We didn't even realize ourselves that it was a 4-0 already. Like the moment we went outside, Faye was like, "Oh, it's 4-0 already." That's right. So
you got to play Ruckus. How does it feel?
Feels good. It's like, honestly, it's the champion I made my name on. When I was a nobody, everyone always flamed me for having a high sensitivity. Everyone hated me, and I was like the only champion I could play was Ruckus, and I had the most fun ever, especially with Aerial Assault. It's always good to bring the Ruckus back, and I had a lot of fun that game.
It's good to see you bring the Ruckus. You guys played your own game, obviously, but you guys also seem to have an answer to everything Virtus.Pro had. What was the preparation like for this set? Was it special?
I was laying in bed sick last night, and I was just, what should we draft? And I was like, I'm just going to make it as easy as possible for me when I'm going back to tank. So I'm just going to create something that's strong on points, something that I can poke from the back, and then I can do my thing in their back line.
The drafts in general, actually, were very, very good today. Who sort of took over? Who's playing the shot caller in these drafts?
Just me, basically.
Lazy leaning over to Phoenix.
I mean,
congratulations on the day, guys. Go 4-0. Get out of the week with a win. Congratulations. For those at home, we'll be back right after this break.
Paladins Premier brought to you by Evil Mojo, Hi-Res Studios, INAP, Respawn, SteelSeries, Alienware, and Skillshot.